Careblazer, or welcome back to the channel where we talk about everything dementia and share with you important research, information, breakthroughs, and caregiving strategies to help make this caregiving journey as smooth as possible. And if you've been following me for a while, then you know I'm in a really weird place right now. This is not my normal place. It's kind of strange, and to be honest, I know it looks weird and it's not the best lighting, but I hope you'll bear with me. We have some work being done in my home and the electricity is turning on and off, and there's lots of banging and loud noises, but it was important to me to make sure that these videos still come out every single week. So here I am making do in a place that I'm not familiar with. But in today's video, we are going to talk about something called hallucinations. Hallucinations are something that people with dementia experience. We're going to break down what it is, why they happen, and also experiences people with dementia have that can seem like hallucinations but aren't. So first, let's talk about what exactly are hallucinations. Hallucinations are sensory experiences that somebody experiences like as if it is in real life, but it's not actually happening in real life. To the person experiencing it, it is 100% real. But to everybody else around, we know it's not real. So the most important thing to know is that when somebody is having a hallucination, the sensory experience, it's not imaginary to them. They are not pretending. It literally is them having the experience. And there are several different types of hallucinations. So hallucinations can affect any of the senses. We have visual hallucinations, which is where somebody sees something that is not there. Most commonly in dementia, these are going to be things like animals or people, maybe even some bugs. There's also auditory hallucinations, which is where somebody hears something, but nothing's actually there. They're hearing it in their brain, but that sound is not actually happening in real life. Tactile hallucinations are when somebody feels something that's not there. And in dementia, one of the more common ones would be like the sensation of bugs crawling on their skin or underneath their skin. That's kind of a dangerous one because a lot of times it leads to the person with dementia scratching or itching, which leads to bleeding, which leads to breaking open the skin, which can lead to infection. Next, we have olfactory hallucinations, which is where somebody smells something that's not actually present. And the most common one here would be like the smell of burning or smoke. And then finally, we have gustatory hallucinations. This is where somebody tastes something that's not actually present. And probably the most common one here is going to be the taste of something metal or metallic. Okay, so what are the most common hallucinations in people with dementia? By far, it's going to be visual hallucinations, them seeing something that's not there, usually an animal, an object, an insect, a person. Visual hallucinations are really prominent in Lewy body dementia. However, they can happen in any of the types of dementia. So what are the causes of hallucinations in dementia? Like, what causes the brain to have these sensations? Well, for starters, just simply the changes that are happening in the brain can prompt these hallucinations. But the other thing that's really important to realize and recognize that can happen in people with dementia as well as people who don't have dementia would be things like an illness, an infection of some sort, a medication side effect. These things can also bring out hallucinations. That's why you should always alert your loved one's medical provider or your own medical provider if you start to have these experiences. It's easy to assume that everything our loved one experiences is a result of the dementia, but that's not always the case. It could very well be that they are having a negative reaction to a medication, or there's some sort of underlying infection happening that if treated, the hallucinations might go away. Okay, so let's talk about what do we do? How do we help somebody who is experiencing hallucination? And before I share these ideas, I would love if you have ever witnessed your loved one having a hallucination and you found something that has really calmed them or has helped the situation, share that in the comments below. You could really help another Careblazer out who's looking for answers right now on how to respond to their loved one. So thank you in advance. But first of all, here's the first way we respond to hallucinations is number one, to ask yourself, are they bothered by them? So you might be surprised to learn that sometimes people who have hallucinations aren't bothered by them at all. And if that's the case, we don't really need to do much at all. In fact, some people with dementia might actually enjoy the company of the person they're talking to that's not actually there. So that's just one thing. But most of the time, The person with dementia is going to be in some distress or frustration about this thing that they are experiencing. So, what do we do in that situation? Here are some strategies to help. Number one, stay calm and reassuring as hard as that can be. You want to approach them calmly, use a reassuring tone of voice. Don't try to argue or convince them that it's not real, because remember, it is actually 100% real for them. Instead, what we want to do is acknowledge their feelings that they are having. It looks like you're scared. It looks like you're upset. You sound angry. When we acknowledge what they're feeling and we acknowledge their experience, it opens up the ability for us to have a conversation and for you to gather more information about what is actually happening. And that is going to spark some ideas for you and how to respond specifically for your loved one. So for example, one of my favorite stories with visual hallucinations comes from one of my very dear friends whose father had Lewy body dementia, and he would see people in the backyard where all the trees were. And she would sit there with her father, and he would, become upset that there are men back there by the trees. And knowing her father's personality and my friend's personality, and my friend is single, she would always ask her father, "Are any of them single tonight? I'm looking for a boyfriend." And then they would just start chatting and kind of have some fun with that. But all of a sudden, it kind of lightened the mood and the situation. But other times, asking about their experience, what they're seeing or feeling, and acknowledging their experience and feeling, this can help give you information to realize it might not be a hallucination at all. It could be something that sounds and looks like a hallucination, but isn't. It could be an illusion. An illusion is when the person is seeing something in the environment and something is actually in the environment, but they are just misperceiving it. I once worked with a gentleman whose family member thought he was having a hallucination of a person in their bed. And at this point, I did home visits. And so we went into the bedroom and we talked about what he saw and what was going on. And what we realized is that the bed wasn't made. And so the blanket kind of crumpled up and made the sheets underneath it were crumpled up over the comforter, and it kind of made like a bump. And he was talking about how somebody is underneath there sleeping. And so this made us realize, I wonder if this is not really a hallucination at all. And maybe this is actually him interpreting that bump in the bed as somebody sleeping. So we started making the bed. A family member started making the bed in the morning, and this no longer was an issue for him. He no longer thought somebody was sleeping in the bed. That's a perfect example of an illusion, not a hallucination. And that information we would have never gathered if we didn't actually pay attention to what he was saying and want more information about his experience. The other thing that can happen is just total not seeing accurately or not understanding the environment accurately. So you may have seen or heard about some people with dementia who can see their reflection maybe in a mirror and not realize that it's them. They don't recognize that it is them in the mirror. They might think it's a stranger, and they can become upset in that case as well. So if that's the case, we can alter or modify the environment by either removing the mirrors or covering up the mirrors to help relieve the distress. In the situation of tactile hallucinations, where the person maybe feels there's bugs on their skin or underneath their skin and it leads to lots of scratching, always, we want to be ruling out, oh my gosh, is this a medication side effect? Make sure you've talked to their doctor. But other things you can do is take a look at their skin, show interest, and okay, show me where it's at. Oh, it's right here, let's look at it. You can even put some lotion on their skin to show that you're addressing it. There are other strategies you can talk to their doctor about as well, like making sure their nails are short and filed so that when they do scratch, it's doing minimal damage. Maybe even putting some gloves on their hand, keeping their hands busy with other things. Those are some strategies for tactile hallucinations specifically. And then as always, classic redirection. We always want to acknowledge and hear what they're saying before we try to redirect somebody with dementia, but at some point you absolutely can redirect them to something you think they would find interesting or pleasant. Maybe it's a snack, a favorite drink, an activity, a TV show. Simply sometimes moving to a different room and getting into a different environment can help the hallucination go away. As always, I've already mentioned it, make sure you've alerted their doctor if they are experiencing hallucinations, especially if they are new or they are getting worse. Remember, your loved one's hallucinations are very much real to them. They are not making it up. The brain is a very remarkable, interesting thing that can create images and experiences that aren't actually there. Careblazer, if you found this video helpful, I would love it if you press the red subscribe button on your screen. It is 100% free. It helps communicate to YouTube that this video was helpful to somebody like you, and YouTube is more likely to put one of my videos in front of a caregiver out there in the world right now searching for answers and has no idea that this channel even exists. Also, if you're looking for more personalized support in a community of amazing Careblazers and dementia experts, I invite you to check out our Care Collective program, where we come together every single week to help go through, figure out challenging situations, give support, and you'll have access to a 24/7 private platform where you can connect with other Careblazers and also have access to all of our bonuses and trainings we've ever put together. The link to that is below this video as well. Careblazer, I'm sending you so much love. Thank you truly from the bottom of my heart for what you do for your loved one with dementia. Bye.
Also, Nico gets a belly rub for every person who subscribes from this video. So if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button. It's totally free, and Nico says thank you very much.